Hello and welcome to Nikolai's genetics lessons. In this video I'm going to talk about animals breeding and selection, and in particular today I'm going to talk about breeding and selection of cats. And the topic of this video would be how blue eyes and deafness related in cats. Looking at these pictures, can you tell which cats are prone to deafness and which are not? If you need the time to think, you may pause video here, take a better look at each picture, and when you would be ready you can run video again and you can compare your answers with my answers and explanations. So the correct order would be to rearrange pictures like this. Now cats on the top is arranged, and these cats would be prone to deafness, and cats here on the bottom has probability to have deafness no more than any cats of any color. So what's the difference between these cats? The difference is that deafness is usually we can see in cats with white coat and blue eyes. So as you see on this picture, this cat has blue eyes, this cat has one eye that is yellow, another is blue, and this one has green eyes, but also would be prone to this genetic disorder. And this cat is white but has red eyes, he's not prone. And some cats also, those is white with just small patches of black, also is not prone to this genetic disorder. Those has blue eyes. And the last cat here, those he has blue eyes. It's not prone to this genetic disorder because the coat of this cat is not white. So probability that these cats would be normal is nearly 100% for this trait, deafness. If we take, for example, this cat that is white and has blue eyes, the probability that he would be deaf would be between 60 and 80%. So you see that expectations is very high, but not 100% as many people may think, especially those people who breed cats. So as you see, between 40 and 20% is probability that a cat wouldn't be deaf. And as for this cat, we have here one eye that is yellow, another is blue, and probability that this cat would be deaf on one ear would be the same as here, but probability that this cat would hear with this ear would be between 70 and 80%. So probability that this cat would be deaf would be between 20 and 30%. So as you see, the rate would be much smaller than of this cat. I will later explain why. And this cat, you probably don't see the color of his eyes. I will increase the picture. So as you see, this is green, and for this cat the probability to have this genetic disorder, deafness, would be between 10 and 20%. So about 80 and 90% probability that this cat wouldn't have this genetic disorder and can hear. So what's the difference between these cats? At least 5 out of 6 are white. And for example, in Siam's cat, blue eyes result of the different combinations of genes from these cats, and black patches that you see here on the nose and ears and also paws and tail is result of those body parts that has lower temperature. So those parts that has high temperature would be white, and those body parts that has lower temperature would be dark colored. So we call this temperature sensitive expressivity of the black gene dependent on the temperature. And of course, in colder climates, when cat would be exposed to cold, we can expect that he would have more black fur. Now let's consider this cat, why this cat is different from this tree. And actually white color in cats can be a result of the different genetic makeup. For example, this cat is different from this tree because this cat is albino. We can see it because his eyes are red. So this cat completely lack pigment, and even his eyes don't have pigment, and we can see blood vessels, so his eyes are red. This type of white we call double recessive. Let me clean a space and I will explain you how it is different from the rest. And in this case we have one parent, for example, that is normal but would be carrier of this recessive trait. So one parent would be heterozygous, another parent also would be heterozygous, so would has normal coloration. And when these two cats mate, we can expect the progeny as follows. So heterozygous here and homozygous recessive here, and these three cats would be of the normal color, and this double recessive would be white, would be albino. And albino trait, this recessive allele, has no correlation with deafness. That's why albino cats has the same probability to get deafness just like any other cat that is not white. And here we have, as you see, probability to be normal between 80 and 90%, here 70-80%, and 40-20% here. So probability for this cat to be deaf is very high because all these three variants are results of the different genetic makeup. For example, if we take albino cat, this allele is defective. So imagine that cat has two sets of chromosomes, and somewhere here, for example, we have gene that codes for the color, but this cat has both defective alleles here that do not produce protein. This can be enzyme that participate in production of the pigment. So this cat wouldn't be able to produce pigment, and that means the cat's color would be white. And in this situation, this trait is not recessive, this trait is dominant, and it caused by different gene. So the same two chromosomes, and these two chromosomes may have the same genes and alleles here that code for some color, but also on even one of the chromosomes exists another gene that cancel production of proteins by these two genes. So we call such genes epistatic. So this gene would be epistatic to these two alleles, and this gene may produce protein that would bind to the regulatory sequence of these alleles, and these alleles wouldn't be expressed. So this time this gene would be dominant, and for example in this case our Punnett square would look as follows. So I would use W to designate this dominant trait. So this cat can be W capital and W small genotype, and still would be white. And of course W also means this phenotype, and only cat that is going to be small w would be normal, and these two genotypes would produce white cats that also would have blue eyes, because this dominant allele closely associated with another gene that cause deafness. So this is probably gene that can be found somewhere very close here, and this explains why we find this trait deafness very often with another trait white color and blue eyes, because these two genes are located on the same chromosome and next to each other, and as you remember, when gametes would be produced also as a result of crossover between homologous chromosomes, and as you see, when genes separated by the certain distance, there are many variants where crossing over might happen, and when two genes are very close, the probability that crossing over would happen between these two genes are very small. This explains these numbers, why probability is between 60 to 80%, because these two genes located is very close and usually would be inherited also together. Now let's move to this cat. As you see, one eye is blue, another one is yellow, and the probability that this cat would be deaf is much lower than this one. Those genetic disorder would be the same, but usually it's only affect only one ear, and explanation would be as follows. The trait that I explained here, these genes are found on the X chromosomes, and this is female cat, and early in development, when embryo consists of a few hundred cells, each cell would also have X chromosome. This can be maternally inherited chromosome or paternally inherited chromosome, and in some let me use different colors, for example blue for this one. In some cells blue or for example maternal X chromosome would form a bar body because only one active X chromosome can be found per one cell, and another X chromosome would be active here, but in other cells paternally inherited X chromosome would form a bar body and would be inactive, but X chromosome maternal would be active. And these cells of the embryo will multiply and would produce cell lines where the same chromosome would be turned off and another one would be turned on, and another cell lines we can find where different X chromosome would form bar body and for example maternal or paternal chromosome would be active. So what have happened to this cat? Here we have maybe patch of the body where maternal chromosome is turned on and paternal formed a bar body, and here we have another patch where another chromosome X chromosome may form a bar body and another one would be active. So that's why we have here different colors, because these genes can be found that control this trait on the X chromosomes. So it's not necessary that patches would be like this. Some can be small, some can be bigger. This pattern is not visible to our eye except when we can see it as different colors in cats, as different coloration, but also I want to say that coloration in cats also controlled by many different genes. And the last example here is also dominant trait. This trait called spot trait, and it defines patches of white color that we call spots, and in the case of this cat, the whole cat would be like one big spot, and this dominant trait has variable expressivity. So in some cats we have only small patches of white in different places, but sometimes the whole cat can represent one such big white spot. So we use capital S to designate this gene. So whenever we have capital S and capital S, or capital S and small s, we would see patches of white in cats. And when we have small c genotype, that means normal genotype, or genotype that doesn't have patches of white, and these two genotypes would be susceptible to this genetic disorder, and probability that cat would be deaf would be about between 10 and 20%, because this dominant spot gene also has relation to the deafness. That means that this gene can be found on the same chromosome, but the distance would be greater, and that means that more probability for the crossing over to happen during meiosis and formation of the gametes, and more frequently we may find these two genes to be separated, and that's explain why in the case of the when the whole cat represent one big white spot, probability of the deafness would be much smaller than in this case, just because this genes has smaller distance and these two genes has greater distance between them. And as you see, this trait, white color in cats, cannot be explained just in the terms of simple Mendelian genetics, where one gene means one trait. In real life, it's much more complicated, and also some of you may wonder why absence of color means white color, because normally in daily life you know that absence of color means clear. For example, water is clear, it doesn't have any color, but milk is white because it has color. And in order, for example, to make a gray, we have to mix black and white pigment. So why absence of color in animals and even plants normally means white color? I will explain in my next video, and because this also would take a time and I don't want to make this video too long, and please watch my other videos so you would know why absence of color means white color in animals. And as a last note, before I finish this video, white cats make about 5% of the total cats population, and they are prone from 0% to the deafness and up to 80% depending on the genetic makeup. And by statistics, white cats with blue eyes would make about between 0.75 up to 2% of the deaf cats. And this is the result of the inbreeding, when animal breeders breed animals that is close relatives, like mother with son, father with daughter, and siblings between each other. So this leads to rare genetic disorder to appear more often. Of course, nobody want to breed cats for some genetic disorders, but as you see, when our desirable trait is very closely related with another genetic disorder, it's very hard to separate them, and that explains why there are so many health problems in pure breeds of whether cats or dogs that we can see. This is result of the inbreeding. And I almost forgot to mention why blue eyes usually goes with white coat. Blue eyes, this is not the trait that appear from nowhere. Actually, this is black pigment, but very diluted. And you may also ask, when we dilute black, normally this becomes gray. Why blue? Actually, this is a physical property of the molecules. When they aggregate, they would make three-dimensional structures, and when light would strike them, that light would be dispersed in such a way that only blue rays would be reflected back and the rest would be absorbed. And this is all for today. Thank you for your attention. Please subscribe for my new videos that I post almost every day. Thumbs up if you like this video. Please write your comments, questions if you have any. And see you in the next video. Goodbye.